What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market and break down something very important about Tesla. I also want to give you guys some important warnings about how things could pan out for tomorrow. But let me first say that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And then don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just about 8 hours. Anyways, what's happening with the market? I just want to talk about Tesla real quick, and then I'm going to break down the trust for SPY and the others. Something very important is happening to Tesla. For tomorrow, Tesla's going to be announcing its deliveries, okay, for Tuesday, April 2nd, most likely between 8:30 a.m. and 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so a little bit before the market opens. But just know that historically, they do typically do it on the second day of the month. That's after the end of the quarter, or any quarter in general. And so it's most likely going to be tomorrow when they announce their earnings. So yes, it should be coming tomorrow, but I can't promise you the exact timing. Sometimes they're a little bit late, sometimes it's a little delayed, so you have to give them some time. But usually it should be between the range, so somewhere between 8:30 a.m. and 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it's a little bit late, don't panic, guys. It's eventually going to come out, but just know that sometime tomorrow the data will be coming out. And this is going to cause a very, very big move in Tesla. Why is this important? Because right now implied volatility is going up quite a bit. And what's happening is when this increases either before deliveries reports or earnings, this is going to cause premiums to get jacked up. What that means is premiums are more expensive for Tesla, and overnight, with implied volatility dropping, we're going to see a big drop in those premiums, in my opinion. So if you're going long on options, if you're going long on calls or long on puts, if you're buying them, you have to be very careful because overnight the IV drop is going to cause premiums to drop very sharply, and it's going to have a big effect on options. Now, some people offset this by selling covered calls or using different strategies. You could do that, but that's typically for more advanced option traders, in my opinion, especially because you need more capital, more collateral to make those trades by selling covered calls. But I know that the majority of retail are going to be either buying calls or buying puts, right? If they want to play, just know that if you do that, right? If Tesla stays the same in its overall value, there's going to be a big drop in your position, anyways. And to offset that, you need Tesla to make a very, very big move, and that could still be profitable for you, but you need a big move to come. So let me clarify. So if you, excuse me, if you short Tesla, for instance, you short Tesla at like 175, you shorted Tesla and you have a 175 put expiring for Friday. Hypothetically, you just have one put, right? What's going to happen is if Tesla stays where it's at right now, even though the put's in the money, you could still lose a lot of money because implied volatility will drop. To make money, what you would have wanted to do if you're going long on puts, you're holding these puts, you want to see Tesla actually drop pretty hard to the downside. That's going to actually provide the necessary factors for the option premiums to go up and offset that implied volatility drop. So you'd want to see Tesla come all the way down to like maybe 165 or so, or something like really a much lower level, and you can make crazy money. And usually people still play anyways because they're hoping for a big move to the downside. They still think they can make a lot of money off of it. So that's the very important thing about that. You need a big move to the downside to make money on those puts if you're holding them. If you're holding calls, you think Tesla's going to bounce, right? If you bought the 175 call for Friday, hypothetically, right? You're not going to make money if this thing pushes to like 177, 176 and doesn't do much overnight. You want Tesla to actually push all the way into the well into the 180s, like 184 to 187. That's going to make you crazy money if you got a big move like that. If it's flat or doesn't make that big of a move, that you could still lose quite a bit of money, even if your direction is correct because of how the options are calculated. All right, guys. So don't forget about that. That's my warning for everyone. Holding options overnight for Tesla is risky. There are some risks involved. You could make crazy, crazy money, lots and lots of gains, and have a great time in the process, but make sure you're very, very careful with how everything is going. Now, let me add a couple of other things for this. So, what's going to likely happen to Tesla? Honestly, guys, it depends on their deliveries reports, but I can tell you that right now, the share price is looking a bit more bearish as we broke the structure. And also because of the fact that, with this bearish structure, we do have lots of important zones to be watching for. So I could see Tesla coming down to 165 if we're bearish, even losing 160 if we turn really bearish, to fall all the way down to like 152 if we get a very, very big move to the downside, depending on deliveries. If we get a big move to the upside, we could be pushing all the way back up towards 180 plus a share, then all the way up to the much higher levels like 185 and etc. So honestly, I'm not going to try to predict it or promise anything. I'm just going to try to be open-minded. The expectations are very low, but we'll just have to wait and see. For Nvidia, let me just call out that right now this is very indecisive. We have 908 as resistance and 892 as support. We've been going back and forth, so we'll have to see what this ends up doing. But I'm just going to be open-minded nonetheless, and I'm just going to be very patient. I do want to call out some weakness on Nvidia. It's actually struggling to hold above 908, which is a key resistance, and it's not a good sign. So we want to see this thing hold a lot better. It's showing some weakness, not being able to do so. SPY is also showing a little bit of weakness because we broke through the key trend line of support. We're pushing back up, trying to retest it. But if we don't get back above this thing could get a rejection, start sinking back down towards 519 or so. So it's not looking too good on SPY so far. We have to try to get back above this trend line. If we fail to do so, it could reject and continue to sink lower. Looks a bit more bearish. So make sure you watch your levels, watch the trend line, watch 522 as resistance. If we lose this, a bigger drop could be coming. And I see a risk of that in my personal opinion. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. UQQ is very stationary, back and forth price action. It's going to try to test 444.8 around that area. If it rejects here, look for a bigger drop. If it holds here, it could try to pop. Overall, it looks a little bit more bearish, very, very sideways. I could see this actually coming back down and rejecting. So be a little bit more careful with this chart. I do want to warn you guys that it's showing big differences compared to before. And finally, we have Aapl, which is on a bit of a downtrend. We had this high here, came down, made a lower high, is just continuing to sink. Watch and see the close. I think that there's some buyers trying to defend 170. Watch and see, do we close above 170 or below it? That's going to be very key for this chart as well. So we're going to be very patient with this. We'll see what Aapl ends up doing. I think that's very important to try to be as open-minded as possible and to be as patient as possible simultaneously, because I do see some big moves coming. But just know that the market's showing a little bit of weakness. We'll have to see how things go. And right now, with this happening, there's no surprise that this is happening at the beginning of the next quarter. We just had a very, very strong close to the previous quarter. And these moves right here are no surprise. We did talk about the market potentially forming a peak either on like Friday or even today. We did see SPY break its all-time high again in the pre-market before coming back down. So it's just something worth noting. But for now, my attention is going to be more focused on Tesla, at least for the time being. I can't wait to see what the deliveries numbers look like. But let me just say that I'm not necessarily excited about it because I know that the expectations are very low. They're likely not going to be that great. But regardless of what happens, if we get a big dip on Tesla, that's another buying opportunity. If we don't get a dip and it runs instead, that could also be a very, very good opportunity to make money either way. So it's a win-win situation to me. I want to see what the numbers look like. It's going to be very key to understand how Tesla's doing. Q1 tends to be the worst quarter for Tesla historically. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll just be very patient in the process. All right. So thank you for listening, guys. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next video. Thank you for listening. The market to the moon because the long term is very bright, and peace out.